The Riverside Country Club's annual member appreciation luncheon was Mom's favorite venue for showcasing what she called our family's professional achievements. This year's presentation focused entirely on celebrating my brother Marcus's recent hire as a junior financial advisor at Sterling Wealth Management, a position that had elevated him from college graduate to family success story overnight. Marcus just closed his first client account, Mom announced proudly to Mrs. Henderson, the club president's wife, while adjusting his new business suit for the photographer. Real responsibility, managing people's retirement investments. That's what actual financial expertise looks like. At 24, Marcus had finally landed what our parents considered legitimate employment after 18 months of job searching that hadn't quite met their standards for respectability. His advisor trainee role came with business cards, a modest salary, and most importantly, a title that impressed relatives at social gatherings. "And your other son?" Mrs. Henderson inquired politely, scanning the elegantly set tables for missing family members. "Ryan's still experimenting with that internet thing," Mom replied with practiced patience, her tone suggesting I was managing a hobby rather than deliberately excluded from their celebration. "You know how these young people are with their websites. Always convinced they're building the next big company. The next big company." While they celebrated Marcus's entry-level position managing small retirement accounts, Data Flow Systems had just finalized negotiations for the largest fintech acquisition in Wall Street history. But since my work existed in algorithmic trading platforms rather than face-to-face client meetings, it remained incomprehensible to their understanding of real financial careers. "Marcus has such a bright future ahead," Dad chimed in enthusiastically to Mr. Patterson, whose investment firm had sponsored our family's club membership. "Financial planning is a field that rewards hard work and proven expertise. Not like these tech ventures that promise everything and deliver questionable results." Questionable results. Dataflow's high-frequency trading algorithms had generated over $2 billion in client returns this quarter, but algorithmic success couldn't compete with the tangible appeal of Marcus's client handshakes and investment presentations. "Ryan should really follow Marcus's example," suggested Aunt Catherine with maternal concern. "Get serious about building a stable career instead of chasing these startup fantasies that probably won't exist next year." Startup fantasies. I checked my phone discreetly from my position near the club's back entrance. 3 missed calls from our legal team, 2 from Goldman Sachs, and an urgent text. "Acquisition announcement moving to 2 p.m. All major financial outlets confirmed for coverage." The irony was perfect. While my family dismissed my work as unstable internet experimentation, every major investment bank was preparing to report on Goldman Sachs acquiring Data Flow Systems for $8.5 billion. The largest fintech exit since PayPal. "Marcus understands that real success requires working within established financial institutions," Dad continued authoritatively. "Not these disruptive approaches that ignore how wealth management actually functions." How wealth management actually functions. Our platforms processed over 40 billion in daily transactions for those established institutions, but technological infrastructure remained invisible compared to Marcus's visible dedication to traditional client service. "We're so proud of Marcus's commitment to proven business principles," Mom concluded with obvious satisfaction. Finally, someone in the family chose a career path that actually matters to people's financial security. Finally. In approximately 90 minutes, their understanding of that phrase was about to require significant revision. The luncheon continued with Marcus as the undisputed centerpiece, each conversation designed to highlight his transition from recent graduate to respectable financial professional. The country club's dining room had become a shrine to traditional career success. "Marcus's training program at Sterling is exceptionally rigorous," Dad explained to the gathered members with obvious pride. 6 months of intensive education in portfolio management, risk assessment, client relations. That's what real professional development looks like. Real professional development. While Marcus learned basic investment principles in classroom settings, I'd been developing algorithmic trading systems that outperformed human portfolio managers by 37% over 18-month periods. The financial services industry respects experience and proven methodologies, Mom added confidently to Mrs. Chen, whose husband managed pension funds for the City Employees Union. Not like these technology experiments where success seems random and temporary. Random and temporary success. Dataflow had maintained consistent profitability for 4 years, with quarter-over-quarter growth that exceeded most Fortune 500 companies. But sustainable revenue apparently required traditional office buildings rather than server farms processing billions in transactions. Marcus's client base is already expanding, Aunt Catherine observed approvingly. Word-of-mouth referrals from satisfied investors. That's the kind of organic growth that builds lasting wealth management careers. Organic growth. Our client acquisition had accelerated through algorithmic performance metrics rather than personal relationships, attracting institutional investors who prioritized results over handshakes and quarterly dinner meetings. Ryan would learn so much from observing Marcus's professional approach, Mom suggested to the assembled relatives. Real client interaction, tangible investment results, the kind of work that actually contributes to people's financial well-being. Dataflow's trading platforms had generated over $12 billion in investor returns since inception, but those returns existed in digital portfolios rather than the personal investment accounts that Marcus managed through face-to-face consultations. Through the country club's panoramic windows, I noticed several news vans arriving in the parking lot. Unusual media presence for what should have been a routine member appreciation event. My phone rang insistently. Goldman Sachs CEO David Solomon calling personally. Ryan, we're accelerating the announcement timeline. Market conditions are perfect, and we want to coordinate the press release with your family present. Are you still at the country club? Sir. Though my family doesn't know about the acquisition. They think I'm unemployed. Unemployed. His confusion was obvious. Ryan, you've built the most sophisticated trading platform we've ever encountered. This acquisition represents Goldman's largest fintech investment in company history. They prefer traditional financial careers. My brother just started as a trainee advisor. Well, that's about to become very interesting for your family dynamics. Through the dining room windows, I could see camera crews establishing positions, their presence suggesting someone had leaked information about Goldman's major acquisition announcement scheduled for this afternoon. Marcus never gets work calls during family events. Dad was observing pointedly to anyone within earshot. That's the difference between stable employment and these volatile tech ventures that consume your entire life without delivering actual security. In 15 minutes, their definition of that phrase was about to encounter an $8.5 billion reality check. The country club's serene luncheon was interrupted by David Solomon, CEO of Goldman Sachs, walking directly into the dining room accompanied by a small entourage of investment executives and legal advisors. The sight of Wall Street's most powerful leader arriving unannounced transformed routine member appreciation into breaking financial news. Ladies and gentlemen, Solomon addressed the stunned gathering, I apologize for interrupting your event, but we're here to finalize a significant acquisition with one of your members. The dining room fell silent as 300 country club members tried to identify which of their peers commanded personal attention from Goldman Sachs' CEO. We're acquiring Dataflow Systems, Solomon announced clearly, for $8.5 billion. This represents the largest fintech acquisition in Goldman's history. My family's confident celebration of Marcus's banking career froze completely as financial journalists began setting up cameras and the country club's routine social gathering transformed into Wall Street breaking news. Ryan Chin, Dataflow's founder, Solomon continued, scanning the room, has built the most sophisticated algorithmic trading platform we've ever encountered. His innovations will become the foundation for our entire institutional trading division. Ryan Chin. The name echoed across the dining room as members tried to connect Goldman's historic acquisition with the family member who'd been dismissed as unemployed throughout the luncheon. That's impossible, Dad whispered weakly, staring at Solomon with obvious confusion. Ryan works with websites, computer games. Mr. Chin works with algorithmic trading systems that process over $40 billion in daily transactions, Solomon corrected diplomatically. His platforms have generated $12 billion in client returns over 4 years. Mom's fork clattered against her plate. But Marcus is the one with the real financial career. Marcus has an entry-level position managing small retirement accounts, Solomon observed gently. Ryan has built technology that revolutionizes how institutional investors manage portfolios worth trillions. I stood from my position near the entrance where I'd been observing their celebration of Marcus's traditional success while my internet thing was about to be acquired by Wall Street's most powerful firm. "Good afternoon, Mr. Solomon," I said clearly. "Ready to proceed with the acquisition documents?" The country club's member appreciation luncheon had just become Goldman Sachs's most expensive acquisition announcement in company history. Marcus's business cards suddenly looked very small compared to $8.5 billion. The aftermath was swift and absolute. Within hours, every major financial publication was covering Goldman's record-breaking acquisition, featuring photos of the signing ceremony at Riverside Country Club while my family stood bewildered in the background. Marcus's colleagues at Sterling Wealth Management contacted him frantically when they realized their trainee advisor's brother had just sold his company for more than their entire firm's assets under management. His real financial career seemed modest compared to algorithmic trading platforms that Goldman considered revolutionary. Dad's dismissive comments about Internet things became deeply embarrassing when club members discovered he'd spent the luncheon mocking a billionaire entrepreneur whose technology powered the institutional trading that made traditional wealth management possible. Mom's concerns about my lack of stable employment required complete revision when Forbes featured our family in their coverage of the youngest self-made billionaire in fintech history. 6 months later, Dataflow's integration with Goldman had revolutionized institutional trading globally. Marcus had learned to speak differently about his brother's work, not because he understood algorithmic trading any better, but because dismissing Goldman Sachs acquisitions made him look foolish rather than traditionally grounded. Sometimes Internet things become Wall Street history.